Good morning and welcome. I'm Christiana Beck. I'm the exhibition manager for Chemspec Europe, and I have the pleasure to introduce our very first presentation of Chemspec Digital's conference program. Abisola Elegba of REACHReady here in the UK will be presenting COVID, Brexit, REACH and Beyond Chemicals Regulation Outlook. Over to you, Abisola.
Hello, good morning. My name is Abisola and I am from REACHReady. Before I start my presentation, I would just give a brief of who we are as REACHReady. REACHReady is the subsidiary of Chemicals Industries Association, the CIA, and which is the trade association for the chemical industry in the UK. We provide a subscription-based service and we have subscribers all around the world. And our aim and our ethos is to provide chemical compliance for the chemical industry. Today, I will be talking about REACH and I will be talking about just the chemical development so far in chemical regulation. EU REACH is an ambitious chemical regulation, and although there are about 40 different legislations in chemicals so far, I'll be concentrating on REACH. By way of introduction, before I start, I would be talking about what REACH is. So EU REACH is an ambitious chemical legislation, and it was designed to improve the supply chain. And it was also designed to improve the understanding and management of risks from chemicals, from development to disposal. ECHA helps to implement REACH and also are responsible for IT systems, support tools, and guidance. They also collect fees and are also responsible for other legislations such as CLP and biocides. REACH puts the obligation of compliance on industry, and REACH impacts downstream users. It affects every stage of the supply value chain. From its inception in 2007 up until 2018, which was the last deadline for chemicals that are existing, REACH is focused on getting all information needed for chemicals and their safety and creating what you would call a database. But REACH is definitely more than a database. And following the last legislation, ECHA, as said, ECHA is the administrative body for REACH. They have said that they will be focusing on compliance as a priority. With regards to REACH development so far, so REACH and the development so far has been underpinned by three main things. So the developments have been underpinned by ECHA's strategic priorities, which they have said for 2019 to 2023. It has also been underpinned by the second REACH review and also by the ECHA and the Commission REACH evaluation joint plan. At a glance, on this slide, we have the various developments so far with REACH. As you can imagine, there are so many others, but we will be focusing and expanding some of these developments. One of them would be improving REACH dossiers. We would also be talking briefly about the development of polymers requiring registrations. We would be looking at restriction on intentionally adding microplastics, endocrine disruptions, persistent mobile toxic chemicals, and just the idea of perhaps regulating that as a substance of very high concern. And we'll be looking at other developments with regards to communication in the supply chain. So the development of the poison centers, notification, harmonized notification, and also the SCIP database. With regards to improving the dossiers, so at the moment, ECHA has looked at the compliance of more than 22,700 REACH dossiers. And some of the things that they found were problematic with some of the dossiers were with regards to how the registrants justified and waived the data requirements, and also the use of adaptations by the registrants. And then also they found that the documentation was insufficient as well. And so I guess with that in mind, in June 2019, so June last year, ECHA and the Commission published a joint action plan. And I guess the whole need, or the whole aim of the action plan, was to include measures that could actually improve the whole outlook with regards to dossier quality. So some of the things that they did say in the action plan was that they would address all substances. And so ECHA has said that they would look at increasing the amount of dossiers that they are looking at with regards to compliance. They would also improve the clarity of legal provisions. They would accelerate decision-making, and they would also follow up with regards to enforcement and evaluation of decisions. Now, some of these I would speak about some more as the slides go on, and some of these are already taking place, and as you would see in subsequent slides. So one of these that ECHA took forward, and as we can see in this year was published, was the implementing regulation for dossiers. And I guess the aim of that was to improve the quality of data that were in the dossiers. And so earlier this year, ECHA published the implementing regulation that stipulated the timelines for which registrants would need to update the dossiers. Another thing that ECHA is doing to look at improving REACH dossiers is also looking, or at the moment, the Commission is considering an amendment to the REACH annexes to clarify the information requirements. And at the moment, the public consultation for that is ongoing and finishes on the 16th of November. So another development that's going on at the moment is just with regards to polymers and polymers requiring registration. So again, last year in July 2020, the Commission commissioned a study, and the study looked at defining the criteria to group polymers. It also identified the polymers requiring registration. It looked at just applicable tests and data requirements, possibly for polymers requiring registration. And also the study which was commissioned included a cost-benefit analysis also. So based on this study, we are looking in terms of that polymers of concern will be regulated via registration on the REACH. And so as it stands, it's anticipated that an impact assessment will be carried out in 2021, and a proposal is expected from the Commission in 2022. Moving on, other developments that you can see or that are ongoing with regards to REACH would be the restriction of intentionally added microplastics. And the aim of this development, I guess, and what it's looking as is that there would be a ban on the marketing microplastics, and there would also be an imposed labeling requirements, and also there would be a setup of information reporting obligations, and there are exemptions of this, however. With regards to other REACH developments, also we have the endocrine disruptions. And with regards to this, we see here that the European Commission intends to regulate endocrine disruptions across all regulations, so across toys, and for example, or cosmetics or food contact products. And I guess also regulating that under the GHS or the CLP, and also for REACH particularly, just looking at additional information requirements, and then also the proposal for a hazard category for CLP. With regards to persistent mobile toxic substances, this development came up from just the idea that persistent mobile toxic chemicals affects the quality of drinking water, and so the German body came up with they came up with just a proposal for what could be looked at with regards to persistent mobile and toxic substances. And as speaking, the whole proposal is also looking at perhaps being able to regulate them as substances of very high concern under REACH. Also, another development that's ongoing is just looking at improving the extended safety data sheets. And as I mentioned briefly earlier, just also looking at improving or harmonizing the poison center notification, which is ongoing, and also the SCIP database. So I guess I would speak briefly also about the upcoming deadlines with regards to some of these REACH developments in subsequent slides as well. But with regards to the impact of COVID, we see that it has been an unprecedented time, and even in just recognizing that companies have had to use human power that they would usually use for other things to just facilitate just some of the things that have come up with COVID. ECHA looks and companies have had to change strategy so that they can continue business continuity. ECHA looked at extending some of the regulatory deadlines, and some of that's just included, I guess, extending the regulatory deadlines, such as the technical completeness, and also the PIC notifications were extended for about 6 months as well. And ECHA is also, I know, especially earlier in the months, also looked at how it invoiced companies and also with regards to authorization decisions as well. And all of that is bearing into mind the impact of COVID-19 for some of these regulatory deadlines. And so as the year has gone by, we've seen some of these particular regulatory deadlines move on and on. And then I guess another thing to just consider are key upcoming EU regulatory deadlines. And one of such is poison centers. And we see here that for consumer and professional use products, a key deadline, or the deadline for this would be the 1st of January 2021. And for industrial use chemicals, the deadline for this will be the 1st of January 2024. And I guess also for submissions made prior to the implementation of Annex 8 of the CLP regulation, we can see a deadline of 1st of January 2025. So with regards to the SCIP database, we also see that for EU producers, assemblers, importers and distributors of articles of substances of very high concern, greater than 0.1% weight by weight, the deadline, I guess, or when the obligation kicks in, I should perhaps say also, to record that information on the ECHA SCIP database is the 5th of January 2021. And I guess also for safety data sheets, the deadline to use, or I guess the new format and the obligation for the new format comes into play on the 1st of January 2021, but then between 1st of January 2021 and the end of 2022, the new and the old formats could be used. So in essence, there's a transition period between 1st of January next year and the 31st of December 2022 for companies to use both the new formats and the old formats of safety data sheets. So having said all that, I guess there are some recommendations for businesses, and as such, just thinking about the fact that ECHA can only assess information that's updated in the dossiers. So it's worth businesses considering regular updates of the dossiers, and also by making sure that their IT accounts are up to date. And then also, I guess it's worth also noting that businesses can review the use of adaptations, making sure that it's fit for purpose. And so it can be used, for example, for classification and labeling, and also risk assessment. And just noting also that it's comparable to information provided for standard tests as well. And then I guess other things that companies can do, just as we look at the development of REACH so far, and even the dossiers, and ECHA's desire to of improving dossier quality. Companies can also optimize their testing strategies. They can refine information and use and exposure, and they can also consider and put into planning how they can address multiple substances, and how they can address the changing landscape of chemical regulations. And so, just having a look at possible substances, for example, as we spoke about, polymers requiring registrations, having a look at the repository of your company, and seeing what substances or what group of substances, for example, will need to be looked at, I guess, in the future. So I guess as a way of summarizing this section of information, it would be good if companies plan and just keep up to date with the ongoing changes to the legislation as well. So moving on, we will be looking at beyond EU REACH, and mainly that's just talking about or having a look at a comprehensive assessment of the EU chemical policy. And I guess with that, we see that the interplay of this and just beyond just the legislation of REACH, we see that ECHA is also looking at other things. So as such, we have the third REACH review coming. The last one that happened was in 2018. And I guess in that, ECHA looks at different ways in terms of the implementation, the enforcement of REACH beyond the legislation, and looking at how that can be improved. And also recently in October, we saw that the Chemical Strategy for Sustainability was published, and we see how that, for example, will, or just in terms of all the actions that were in that document, and seeing how that would come into play with regards to EU chemicals policy. So I think just looking at all of this in a holistic version, we see how it's all going towards the circular economy, and it's all going towards how best risks can the risks of chemicals can be looked at for a safer environment, and also for the health of the EU as its citizens, I guess. So in regards to Brexit, I guess we can't do, or we can't carry on talking without speaking about Brexit, and which is a major development in terms of, or a major outlook in the chemical regulation. And just even looking at Brexit, we see that what it means for, and looking at what it actually means for chemical legislation, we see that, for example, Brexit for the chemical regulation means that EU law ceases to apply in the UK on the exit day, in a sense. So we have this transition period where the UK is still, I guess, under the EU law, but then from the 1st of January 2021, we see that, okay, EU law will cease to apply in the UK. It is worth noting that the negotiations are still ongoing, and so in a sense, it's still not over, and so we're still waiting to see how, or the true and real impact of the chemicals, of what the UK and EU relationship with regards to chemical regulation would be like. And so I guess another thing in terms of Brexit and what it means for chemical regulation is just the impact with regards to, for example, UK companies, because UK would now be a third country after the transition period. And then also the impact will be for businesses who will be now responding to two regimes. And so they will be responding to the EU, EEA REACH, and then also UK or Great Britain REACH as well. So I guess these are some of the key things just to bear in mind with regards to Brexit and what it means for the chemical regulation. With regards to maintaining access to the EU or EEA market, ECHA has an information package where they look at, okay, what would go through with regards to that. So the next couple of slides, I will just be looking at just with regards to accessing the UK market. And at the moment, you could also see that for companies, preparation is key, identifying key products to be impacted by Brexit, identifying the supply chain, and just also keeping a close eye on the developments. Like I said earlier, negotiations are still in play. We also invite you to use our navigation tool on REACHReady, and there you can see what your role is and what can be done in that regard. We also have an upcoming event called Navigating UK REACH on the 13th of January, and companies who are interested could also have a look at that, where we aim to highlight the new potential obligations companies may face. Also, for REACHReady, we have other various events coming up. So we have a CLP, for example, Poison Center Notification events coming up on the 9th of December, where we invite companies to join us. We also have the REACH Basics also next year. We'll just invite you to go on our events page to see more on those as well. So in summary, it's worth noting that the key things coming into play and developments are polymers requiring registration, endocrine disruption, the idea of persistent mobile and toxic chemicals, and just having a look at the restriction of microplastics, and just having a look at all these developments and making sure that, you know, even for the UK, this existing chemical legislations will be maintained, and for companies to look at the and I guess the whole priority is that the relevant markets can be continued to be accessed. So it's worth companies noting all of these requirements and seeing that all of this is going towards a more secular economy as well. So with regards to just going forward, here are a list of useful links for companies. I'm not sure if these slides will be shared, but here are a list of useful links for companies to perhaps go to and just see and look at with regards to Brexit also, and just all the information that's out there to help companies. HSC has newly provided lots of guidance, you know, in the last month, and so that also is helpful for companies looking and seeing how they could comply with the Brexit obligations. So with that, I say thank you very much. Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, please do contact us on inquiries@reachready.co.uk. And also, I guess also if you have any questions, I would be also at the exhibition also. Thank you very much for listening, and enjoy the rest of the presentations.